Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wallingford Board of Ed October meeting. I'd ask everybody to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Lavelle, can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Costello?
Here.
Mrs. Corso?
Here.
Ms. Lefebvre?
Here.
Mrs. McKay?
Here.
Mrs. Purcell?
Here.
Mr. Reynolds?
Here.
Mrs. Raccio?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Mr. Votto?
Here.
9 members present and voting.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Our next agenda item are our student board reps, starting with Lyman Hall. Leah? Welcome. Come on down. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Tonight?
Tell us what's going on in Lyman Hall.
All right. So not as much as last month. I know I talked your ear off, but
And I'm sorry I missed it. But
it was pretty long, but we're gonna keep it short tonight. So Lyman Hall held its financial aid night on October 8th. PSATs were administered to all 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students on October 16th. And Lyman Hall AP testing registration will take place at LH from Monday, October 28th, which is today, until Friday, November 8th. The annual college fair will be held at the Oakdale tomorrow night, Tuesday, October 29th.
Yeah.
Multiple colleges, military recruiters, and career programs are visiting during our annual office hours period twice a month. And students are being offered the opportunity to tour Quinnipiac, UConn, and Central Connecticut State University in the upcoming weeks. From our athletics department, they wanted to give a huge shout out to Coach Stephanie Lovato, the field hockey coach, as they joined Sheehan Field Hockey and had a fantastic military appreciation game on Thursday, October 24th. It was great to see the players, coaches, and fans of both schools join as one and support our military. Congratulations out to Grace Chappell, SP Pagano, Alyssa Cervero, and Elise Richardson, who were named as Record Journal Athletes of the Week. And there are many chances to come out and support the Trojans this upcoming week with games versus Sheehan, senior night games, and then the football team returns home. So tonight, Sheehan and Lyman Hall's volleyball team meet with JV at 5 and varsity at 6:30. Fortunately, you guys are here, missing that. Senior night for boys soccer, and they host Jonathan Law tonight as well. Tomorrow, senior night for volleyball and girls swim and dive senior night. Wednesday is senior night for field hockey, and boys and girls visit Sheehan for their second Wallingford doubleheader of the season. And then Friday, the football team returns home after 3 games away against Amity. And then finally, from our music department, the band traveled to the New England Championships in Naugatuck this past weekend and placed 2nd overall, and they will be traveling to Allentown, Pennsylvania this weekend to compete at nationals.
fantastic. Good luck.
Yes.
Good luck on that. I can't believe we're talking about senior nights already for our fall sports.
Yeah.
That means like it's basically over.
First quarter's over this week.
I
It's
know.
crazy.
I can't believe it. That's amazing. And I also want to give a shout out. Thank you for mentioning Leah about the college and career program tomorrow night over at Oakdale. Thank you. I can remember when it was held, when my sons were at Lyman Hall, but they were literally held at Lyman Hall and or Sheehan. And so we've grown well beyond that. And when I read about how many schools that'll be participating, that's a phenomenal opportunity. So I'm really excited for our students and the opportunity for them to really figure out what next steps might look like. So thank you for mentioning that as well. So Mark T. Sheehan, we have Julian. Come on down. How are you tonight?
I'm good, how about you?
Excellent. Tell us what's going on at Sheehan.
Yeah, so Mercer's at the field hockey game as we speak, so
Yeah.
he wants me to say all this stuff, so.
Well, oh, come on. You can do this. Don't all this stuff. This is important information.
It is very important. It is very important.
Okay, come on, tell us.
So she says, good evening. A lot has been going on at Sheehan this month. So on October 2nd, the Instant Decision Day forms become available to any senior who wanted to get an early assurance that they got into any of the schools listed. On October 4th, Student Council held a school-wide Wear Blue Day and sold ribbons in order to support Mr. Sorensen. On October 8th, our juniors went to a distracted driving assembly. On the 11th, Sheehan held its blood drive. Also, the German Club had Oktoberfest at the end of the day, which was filled. They filled senior court with with German cultured activities. On October 16th, grades 9 through 11, they took the PSATs, and grade 12 took its class photo. On the 17th, Sheehan students presented their capstone projects, and on the 18th, 19th, we had a 24-hour film festival. On the 23rd through the 25th, SAD Club is sponsoring a Wet Ribbon Week to promote positive school climate. Looking ahead, Chick-fil-A Leadership Academy is going to begin tomorrow. On October 29th, the College and Career Fair will be held. From November 1st to the 27th, Student Council will hold its canned food drive. On November 3rd, the annual Fall Cleanup Work Project will take place at the Quinnipiac Trail. On November 8th, there will be a Veterans Day Assembly. On the 11th, crew, class officers, Interact Club, and Student Council will go around raking leaves for the elderly across the community. On the 15th and 16th of November, the fall drama production, You Can Take It With You, will be presented. From November 21st through the 27th, Sheehan will hold its annual Spirit Week, where students will have a chance to dress up in those days, given the theme to be awarded Spirit Points. On November 22nd, we'll have our faculty versus Powder Puff game. And on November 23rd, we'll have homecoming. On the 26th, staff will be accompanying senior girls to the Powder Puff Appreciation Luncheon. On the 27th, Sheehan will participate in the Samaha Bowl. And finally, on November 28th, Sheehan will face Lyman Hall in the Carini Bowl. And in Sheehan athletics recently, on Saturday, boys and girls cross-country teams ran in the CIAC Class M Championships at Wickham Park. The boys placed 4th overall, and Lizzie Brown qualified for the Girls State Open Championships. On Friday, our girls volleyball team officially qualified for postseason play with a win over Foreign. Also on Friday, our boys soccer team celebrated its seniors with a senior night ceremony and tied Notre Dame with a goal from Luke Festa. On Thursday, Sheehan field hockey defeated Lyman Hall with a 1-0 win with a goal from Sydney Rizaji. During the game, both schools came together to support veterans, raising almost $1,000 to donate. Girls soccer current record is 9-3-2, and they also qualified for postseason play. At the last girls swim meet, Sheehan defeated Sacred Heart with a score of 98-87, and currently our football team is 5-0 and will take Hill House on this Friday.
You survived. Lots of stuff, a lot of things going on at both our schools, all very exciting. You mentioned the capstone. It was really, Mr. Votto and I both were there, and to hear both Lyman Hall and Sheehan students represented, you guys did a great job talking about your capstone projects, and I'm going to wish Lyman Hall and Sheehan good luck in all your sports activities. And I don't know, so who's home for the Samaha Bowl and who's home for your, okay, so Lyman Hall's home for the Samaha Bowl and the football game is at Sheehan. Got it, okay. Big days. Okay, it is coming up quick, you're right. Okay, thank you. So presentations and awards. Dr. Menzo, you're up.
Yes, so this evening we have our guests from Australia who have
Welcome.
traveled to the United States for a variety of reasons, but now are in Wallingford with us, and we'd like to come forward and share with you a couple presentations about the exciting opportunity that we're affording to our students in our district, as well as hopefully around the state of Connecticut. So I'm going to first, come on up team. I'm going to reintroduce to some of you Michael Pakakis, who is the director of the Victorian Space Science Education Center in Melbourne, Victoria. Just to kind of give everyone a background, I think I should face this way most likely, to give everyone a background about now going on a little over a year and a half, we came into, well, I was fortunate enough to travel to Australia with the U.S. Department of Commerce. The representative from the state of Connecticut, Ann Evans, saw the fact that it would be an opportunity for us as a school district, knowing that we work so closely with businesses, we work so closely with government agencies to work on workforce development as well as just meeting the needs of businesses as related to our students. So I was able to travel. My first visit there, I did not, not for more than maybe 20 minutes to a half hour, I got to meet Michael. He was with Christy Medancy, our math coordinator, who was also, well actually that was in February, excuse me, that we met. And since then, since last February to today, we've been working very collaboratively. Michael came to visit last May. We went back this summer. And as a result, we're going to try to take a page out of their book to create an education center in our district for students. And tomorrow is the ribbon cutting, quote unquote. There won't be a ribbon, so I just don't want to promise anybody. But there will be the launch, as we call it, of the center. So what I wanted to do is to have Michael and his team, first of all, introduce his team, but secondly, take you through a little bit of what their center looks like and what their center does, and then we'll we'll kind of close it out with what we're doing in our center. So I can't thank Michael enough. I do want to say again, I can't thank Ann Evans enough and her counterpart, Karen Laughlin, who will also be up from Washington, D.C. She's the Australian representative for commerce in the United States. So she'll be up here tomorrow because it's really a tribute to their teamwork. Those two ladies working so closely together to then put us together as a team. And these guys feel like family. And so we're very fortunate to have them in our district this week. But I'll turn it over to Michael.
Thank you. Thank you, Sal. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for allowing us to do this short presentation. I would like to start off by apologising for my accent, so just in case there are any words that you don't miss.
I think we love it.
That you miss.
Just saying.
Yeah. I do have a bit of a mixture of my Greek background and also Australian, so sometimes it does get a bit difficult, but anyway, we'll manage. I'd like to introduce my team. This is Luca Bedlacci, one of our STEM specialists at the centre. Ian Christie, who's our outreach coordinator, and also our second STEM specialist, Mark Gleeson. So they'll probably be jumping in the presentation as well at any times, and I encourage them to actually just jump in anytime they want.
And is that mic live? Yeah, so feel free.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're live.
So just to give you a bit of background, this particular centre is part of a network of centres. It's one of 6 STEM specialist centres in the state of Victoria, and recently it was joined by 10 technical schools, or technical colleges they call them, in Victoria. They make up the Vic STEM network. So our state is very, very serious about STEM. This particular one stands out because it's the only one of its kind in terms of space science education. And I say it's only one of its kind, it's the only one of its kind in Australia, and I would say the only one of its kind in terms of the programs that it has produced and delivers to students anywhere in the world. So the centre has, at the moment, is actually working slightly over capacity. It has about 10,000 students, probably between 3,500, maybe 4,000 outreach visits, and about 500 teachers participating in professional learning programs. Recently, in the last probably 4 or 5 years, we've actually stepped up that third section there on student participation in professional learning because we identified that that was a key issue in terms of student outcomes in the classroom. And our state government is actually putting a lot of funding in that particular area. So we've developed some very effective and actually world recognised professional learning programs for our teachers, which we're also going to be sharing with Wallingford. So we're famous in Victoria for scenario-based learning. So we were the first of these 6 centres to actually design programs which threw students into a role-playing scenario directly linked to curriculum that is being taught in the classroom. So the first one you see up there, which is the Mission to Mars, is actually teaching students about Earth science. So we've designed a simulated a surface of Mars, which is a sort of miniaturised version of one of the craters on Mars. We allow students to take the roles of astronauts, where they're basically collecting samples on the surface. Then they change roles and become engineers. So we've set up a mission control, as you can see there on the far right. A mission control where in there they will do a whole series of activities based on the software that we've developed in mission control, where they're continuously challenged with problems. Some of these problems are scientific based, some of them are mathematically based, but they work in teams in order to solve these problems. So there's a lot of teamwork, there's a lot of communication, a lot of critical thinking in that whole process. And then at the end of the day, they come together and they play the roles of research scientists. In other words, they're actually analysing the samples that they've collected and also the data that they've collected and also the data of mission control. At the end of the day, what they do is they will work out and date that crater. And I think my colleagues support me. We've got a pretty good success rate in terms of what that date, with students. So I think we've developed a really successful program in order to guide them through all those activities and all of that curriculum. As I said before, we concentrate a lot on developing our programs just to show teachers that what we're doing here is not Disneyland. And I'm not knocking Disneyland, right? But okay, the kids will come here and have a lot of fun, but they're actually learning something. They will leave the place that they've learned something and also make a connection with what they're actually doing in the classroom. So actually making sense of the scientific and mathematical concepts that are being taught in the classroom. So that's the important basis in which we actually design our curriculum around. The other images there, Mars Base is an elementary program where we fly the students to a Mars base on the surface of Mars, of course, and they do a whole series of investigations in this specially built Mars laboratory or space laboratory. We also have a robotics program which we've developed with a few of our university partners, fully autonomous robot sitting on the surface of Mars doing a bit of science, and also students, again, acting as engineers, working out what type of science the robot can actually perform on the surface. And the last image is a picture of our research laboratory, which we've spent a lot of time and effort and a lot of money to fit out to a university standard research laboratory. So students coming into the place right from grade 5, grade 4, all the way up to year 12 are exposed to some pretty cool equipment, and it actually gets them very excited. Actually, before I continue, is there anything you want to add?
I'd just like to add that most of those programs come with pre-mission material and post-mission material. So this is not just, we try to encourage the teachers not to treat this just as a one-off excursion where, you know, they're going to learn something and they're going to have a lot of fun and they're going to be engaged and inspired, but it's space, so everybody gets inspired when you talk about space and dinosaurs. So we create online units of work for teachers to actually build up and then implement that. And teachers are free to use that as they wish. So we've had our primary school teachers, our grade 5, 6 teachers have spent, either a term or a semester on the differences between Earth and Mars, and we encourage the kids to make portfolios, and so they'll bring those in manila folders with little foldables with all the facts about Mars and all the facts about Earth. With our secondary mission, we've had one school in particular, this teacher built his entire extended science unit around this project, and this was the assessment. So the students chose their astronaut roles, researched it, understood what they were supposed to be doing and how they were supposed to be doing, and the class collectively were assessed at how well they did the mission. And then, so from that end to just teachers coming in and going, my students don't know what real science looks like, I just want to expose them, and everything in between. So we do have that support for them, and that really shows that this is not just an experience, it's deeper learning that we're trying to show the teachers that they can embed in the classroom as well.
Thank you, Luca. The next slide shows a couple of examples of our outreach program, and I would like Ian to say a few words about that because he had a lot to do in terms of designing it and organising it and actually going out and doing it.
Thank you, Michael. Our outreach program, we have a number of different programs we deliver in the classrooms. Students who visit VSEC are from mostly years 5 and above and a few year 4s, but our outreach program tackles 3s, 4s, 5s and 6s at our primary school, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, occasionally year 11s at secondary school. So we cover a very wide range. It's targeted at disadvantaged schools, and the disadvantage is measured both socioeconomic disadvantage and disadvantage by distance. I've no idea how many kilometres, let alone miles, it is from one side of Connecticut to the other. From one end of Victoria to the other is about 800 kilometres, 800 or 900, maybe, I don't think it's 1,000. So I know that makes us a lot bigger than Connecticut or not, I suspect it does. So there are schools that are significantly disadvantaged by distance. The kids simply cannot get to the capital city, Melbourne, to visit our centre easily, or any of the other activities and programs and institutions that are around. So we don't visit schools that don't fit those two categories, the socio-economic disadvantage and the disadvantage by distance. The programs that we deliver, one of them is, which is called More Than Rocket Science, because there is no rocket science actually in it, it's a whole lot of other things, is a very innovative program. I won't give you the nitty-gritty details, but the net result is the kids get lessons from us, the teachers get some informal professional development from us when we're presenting and in the discussions we have with them. The school gets to keep the equipment that we take out and use with the kids, and each class has up to 7 new lessons worth of equipment that we've left at the school. So the teachers then have lessons that they can deliver to their own class in their own time. And it's free. So that is a very attractive program to those rural schools in particular, but also the disadvantaged schools within the metropolitan area. Michael mentioned teacher professional learning. One of the ironies here is that the pedagogy that we are taking out to teachers in Victoria and that we just brought to teachers in Washington DC last week is pedagogy that's developed here in the States. So this is Coles to Newcastle. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. The centre image is actually quite important. The centre image shows us a program that we designed, well, the next speaker designed about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and it was our introduction to the students in Victoria to computational thinking. An extremely successful program. We've had thousands of students come to do this program, and it's all because of Mr. Gleeson over here, who in another time, in another place, in another life, was a software engineer. And we're so happy that he became a teacher and came to work with us. So I'll just invite him very quickly to outline that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We'll see what I can do. Thank you. So the important thing that I recognise in terms of my computer science degree was a lot of the students going through university didn't have time to think. They more or less tackled a problem straight away. They wanted to try and solve it without actually thinking about what they needed to do to solve it. So a lot of students that I actually taught at university before I became a teacher, while I was still doing my computer science degree, was about algorithmic thinking, about pulling a problem apart and trying to put it back together in a way that made sense for them and also the people they were talking to. So I tried to bring that down to the grade 5-6 level. So it's computational thinking, and that's basically pulling apart a problem, putting it back together again in a way that we can all understand, but also in a way that robots can understand. So coding is a language in itself, but you need to be able to communicate your understanding of the problem that you're solving before you even tackle the problem itself. So the motto for the Tickle My Droid program is thinking before doing, and a lot of the students actually start to articulate this using algorithms and flowcharts, basic elements that get brought together in about 2 hours, and they go away thinking about these problems in a graphical but also a linguistical fashion, which I think is quite cool. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mark. The next slide, please. So just very quickly before I wrap up, the Teacher Professional Development program, and Ian touched on it before, as he said, we were recently in DC, part of the International Astronautical Congress. We are members of the International Space Education Board. We're the only non-agency members, and the reason why we are the single non-agency members, because when we were developing the curriculum to this centre, I managed to get myself into the Associate Director, I think it was, or the Associate Administrator of Education at NASA into his office for 20 minutes to outline what Victoria was doing. And one of his assistants said, "Why aren't you on the International Space Education Board?" So what they did then was NASA Education lobbied for us to get onto the board. And ever since we've got onto the board, they've acknowledged our expertise in terms of our curriculum development and also our professional learning program and our outreach program. So now we're responsible for and do the professional learning program for teachers as part of that conference, and also the outreach program as part of that conference. So we work with, and we have worked in the past with an organisation, non-profit organisation based in Colorado called McCrell. That's where our evidence-based pedagogy has come from the many meta-analyses that they've done over the last 30-odd years. And an ex-employee of McCrell, which now she works on her own, Dr. Jane Pollock. We work close with her as well. We continue working with her, and she visits Victoria and also Australia periodically during the year, and she works directly with teachers. So we partner with her as well. So we're very proud of our teacher professional development. As I said at the start, it's probably one of the most important things that we've identified in terms of making a difference to these students, making a difference in the classroom. And the teachers that we work with and the schools that we work with, because we introduced a concept of a all school teacher professional model right across the school, including from the principal down. And in those particular schools that have adopted that, they have shown enormous gains over the last 6-7 years. And there's a lot of evidence in our state to show that. So that's why we're very well respected in this particular area. Just in closing, I would like to again thank the board for allowing us to do this presentation. I'd like to also praise the gentleman on my left here, Dr. Menzo. He's been an inspiration for me ever since I met him. So I was so delighted to find out from him that he wanted to work with us. This collaboration, I know it's actually providing a lot to Wallingford, but it's also providing a lot to us. So just again, thank you so much for your welcome and your hospitality. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to switch over to slide, and thank you for that presentation. What we're doing tomorrow, and I'm just going to, the pictures they had, I don't have any pictures of our center yet. I don't want to spoil the surprise. But obviously theirs was a brand new building. We renovated a space at Mary G. Fritz Elementary School, light renovations, but Mark and his crew, which it would not be appropriate for me to not mention Mark and his crew for all the work that they put into this space to make it take on a different feel. Take on a feel that you are entering something very different and very special. So I want to thank Mark Deptula, our Building and Grounds Director, and all of his staff for their tireless effort. I also need to thank Karen Veyu and her staff, because of course there's a little bit of technology in this space. And so they, with Mark's help today, got Mission Control up and running. So tomorrow, if you come visit, Mission Control will be running. So you'll be actually able to see a little glimpse into what the students will be doing as part of the Mars base, because we're starting with the 5th through 8th grade students, and then gradually working our way up to the high school, but then going back down to elementary. So the space tomorrow, again, Mission Control, Mars base, we have our robotics room, and then we also are going to be launching the Tickle My Droid program. So we have actual 5th graders from Fritz Elementary School, and Mr. Carbone, the principal, is here tonight to show his support. The students from Fritz will be coming over to demonstrate that program. So we're very fortunate to hit the ground running with those opportunities. The lower level of this section of the building, if you're not familiar with the building, there's a lower level. The lower level of the building will be our next frontier, which is actually to build the surface of Mars. And we had the great benefit of having all 4 people who have experienced and built their space see our space, and they were pleased. They were pleased with the amount of space we have. We're going to, of course, work with the fire marshal to make sure that everything is what it needs to be. It'll be all handicap accessible, because this space is for all students. This is not This was an equitable opportunity like we have done over the last 11 years for every child. So we're very excited about that. That's not scheduled to open till probably next year sometime, hopefully the fall, but it could be later. So the presentation that I have now is just kind of taking you through where we're going, and in my Monday message, which is available on Twitter and also Tumblr, I went through the phases of the project. So again, the overall goals is to establish a state-of-the-art innovation and design center. We purposely put aerospace as a tagline rather than at the top because we also want to make sure people understand that STEM and aerospace, there's a lot of art and history that comes into it. We had an awesome conversation today with a UConn professor, because we're tapping into UConn for this program, about how interdisciplinary this should be, and about history, bless you, about history and about math and science and art. It has to all come together. So that's why we're calling it a Center for Innovation and Design, an aerospace experience to Mars. But increased student engagement, we all know, based on projects that were done, our first innovation team, that engagement was the #1 resulting behavior that got students to perform better. So we want to make sure that we have high engagement. Ongoing involvement, K-12, we see this as an extension, but also it replaces units that teachers would have taught. So this is not where we're saying to the teacher, now you need to fit something else into your curriculum. So I want to make that very clearly stated. This is not adding something to the teacher's curriculum. It's giving them, we're going to pull units out and have them come to the center with the support of others to actually teach those units. So I want to thank Kate O'Donnell for her hard work in this area with our science teachers, as well as our computer science teachers. We have our computer science teachers who are leading the way at 3-5 with the Tickle My Droid program. A hub for authentic learning and career exploration. A little unique to our center is that there's a hallway that kind of connects the first floor of the space, and we're transforming that. Half of the hallway is going to be identifying the careers that exist throughout all of the activities that they do in the center. So that when teachers bring their students, that will be a station that they'll stop at. And all of our business sponsors, and we're beginning to get some, and tonight you're accepting 2 donations from business sponsors for the center. We're going to be asking them to delineate what careers do they have in their businesses that are in Connecticut. And then we're going to identify, with the help of Christy Medancy, our math coordinator, and Rob Covey, our technology education, our career technical education coordinator, and Kate O'Donnell, map the courses or the classes that students come to the center to participate in, map those back to those careers. So they can say, oh, I really enjoyed doing this activity. There's a career that I might want to investigate in the future. And look there's 3 companies in the state of Connecticut, or 4 companies that have volunteered to be part of our process and have donated to be part of our team that actually have jobs in these places. So we're trying to map, it's a little bit unique. We've gotten a lot of questions, and unfortunately I don't know if people are following along, but I'll just reiterate, we're doing a tremendous amount in Wallingford for career development. I know that has come up in the past few weeks, so different forums that we should be doing more and we should be innovative. Having the only international partnership with a center like this that there's no other one like in the world, I think that's pretty innovative in my book, but again, who's to say? And then a professional development space. So we're not only going to be offering professional development for our staff, but we also are partnering with other school districts. So one of the companies that you'll be receiving a check from, or we received a check from already for $5,000 from Command Corporation, which is situated in Bloomfield, as well as in Middletown. The Middletown School District will have a partnership with us to bring their students to the center. And Command is basically giving that donation to have them have that opportunity. We're looking to do similar opportunities with Bloomfield, as well as companies that are situated throughout the state. So really opening this up, but the businesses understand that need to be part of this process. So the Tickle My Droid, as I said, I'm not going to go into great detail, but if you come tomorrow, and we're going to open up an event to parents and community after the new year in the evening to have students come and explore with their families. And so we'll send out another invite if you can't make tomorrow to come and enjoy and have some fun. But tomorrow, if you're coming, you're going to build rockets, you're going to do some science stuff. So it's all hands-on tomorrow. It's not, there's going to be a little bit of time for discussion, but mostly hands-on. What? Yeah, well, I won't be dressing down, but you could come dressed down. Mars Base, as I said, this is the mission control that Karen and her team with Mark and the team got working today. So what this is that the students, half of the class is at mission control, the other half of the class is on the actual International Space Station working on experiments. So that's going to be another phase of the project that we'll launch later this year. But we're pleased that the technology worked, and we cannot thank our counterparts at VSEC for all the technology they're providing. There's an amazing amount of hours. I mean, I don't know, we were talking about one program, which I'm going to mention later, that Mark and others have worked on that's become now internationally known, and we're going to be the ones to employ it. But they've spent hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, that we're reaping the benefit of them having worked out all the kinks on all this technology. And to be honest, they're just giving it to us, which is crazy. So I hope people recognize the sheer opportunity here. So Mars Base will be opening. The VEX Robotics Center, that's where we'll be having light refreshments tomorrow morning. That'll be opening also. That's done, completed. There's great storage in there. Totally transformed space. So the future goals, mission to Mars, which is the surface of Mars. We have a company in town. Can't name them just right now, but we have a company who's given us the inclination that they're going to donate goods and services to help build Mars. But we'd like to integrate our students from the Ag Science Center. And we took our guests over to the Ag Science Center today. They saw catfish trying to jump out of the aquaculture tanks and splashing students who got too close because they were feeding them. But they saw all the wonderful things over there. So we're going to really try to integrate our students into this portion. This is where actually the students dress up as astronauts. Half the class dress up as astronauts. Half the class dresses is the mission control, and then they swap. Our young ladies who went to Australia shared that with you when they came back. And we have the picture, thanks to the Record Journal for a good article. We have the picture of the young ladies in their uniforms that we were able to send in. And Miss Latour, our photographer, for that. So thank you. The chemical analysis, this all comes with the science lab that we plan to build in the lower level. So a high-tech science lab, as was mentioned, is a key component of this because it's not just the experiential learning of, like, as Michael said, going to Disneyland or Disney World, but to actually then take it back to the classroom. So this lab will be a real important part. And again, it ties right into units that are already being taught by the teachers. So not adding a unit to say, okay, now you have to, again, fit another 3-week unit in already a tight curriculum. This is replacing a portion of that unit. So the activity that might have occurred in a more traditional manner will occur in a little bit more authentic manner. Quantum computing, another course that we'd like to get to with quantum physics. We know we have several physics teachers who are very interested in continuing to pursue opportunities for their students. So we see this as another next step. And then medical chemistry. With our medical fields that we have on our medical careers, we saw this as a natural connection, and that ties into, I believe, the next one, which is human bioscience, which we're looking at a lens with Tony Loomis and the curriculum looking at how does fitness of astronauts impact their well-being when they're in outer space and then when they return home. We were talking in the car on the way back from dinner, Ian, about, I think earlier, something about, we were talking about the persons who didn't recognize their face. Yeah, and there was an astronaut, because we were talking about astronauts, because tomorrow we have Dan Burbank, the astronaut who lives and works in Connecticut. He's going to be at the center. But there was an astronaut that Ian had seen when he was in space, and then when he saw him in person, I didn't know this, but astronauts, when the effect of being in space makes your face more bloated. And when he met him, he was much more slender, and he had to re-recognize him. So there's a lot of bioscience that goes into this. So we feel that this is a natural. Really, I mean, talk about how engaging can it be for a student to talk about it, anatomy and physiology through the concept of being in outer space and connecting that all together. So I think that's where we are. So we encourage you. I know there are several board members who are coming tomorrow. As I said, we are going to open up after the holidays because we'll have a few more pieces put in place. We also have the partnership with Movia. We were highlighted in the Hartford magazine, where Movia is a robotics company. that builds robots that work with and help development of social skills with students on the autism spectrum. So tomorrow, one of our robots, I tweeted it out before, so if you follow me on Twitter, you should have seen a little video. We have a robot that we programmed to welcome everyone to the center, and it directs everyone in the center. And then we have another robot that some of our staff have already worked with that is actually demonstrating what it can do with students. And we're fortunate enough to have 2 robots being donated to the district to work in a variety of classrooms, be it integrated preschool or some of our behavioral programs that we have in our district. So the partnerships are growing. As I mentioned earlier, we had a conversation with UConn today. We have a partnership conversation with Quinnipiac tomorrow. So we're very excited. But the last thing, there's a program that they have developed, a curriculum. It's a Cube satellite program. And basically the program is that over a course of 4 years, students will actually build parts and pieces of a satellite that will be either commissioned or not commissioned, but hopefully commissioned by NASA to actually go up into outer space and collect data. So they have been kind enough to say that they'll share as much as they can with us. And what we're working on, Rob and I were in the meeting today talking about how we could, again, not supplanting what we're already doing or increasing the curriculum, but looking where this would be a natural connection. Because this is a one of a kind opportunity for students to have this experience. And they would do it over several years. They don't have to necessarily follow it through. Other students can pick it up. We were talking about different entry points, exit points. In the meantime, we did write a grant, and we hope to get funded to do a little slighter, different version, but similar, a CAN satellite, not using not that would go out into outer space, but a smaller version to help learn the same concepts. So we're very fortunate. They presented this to how many students over? You were telling me last night. How many children did you do the presentation for in DC? So about 700 students they worked with last week on building these CAN satellites. So that's a pretty incredible experience. So we're fortunate that we have that as a school district in Connecticut to be able to utilize with our students. So again, I want to thank our visitors for traveling to us and being with us tomorrow and for part of the day on Wednesday. And thank you to the board. We encourage everyone to communicate and communicate with us if they have any questions or if they'd like to visit. But we do have a great turnout tomorrow. We have U.S. Department of Commerce, as I mentioned. We have the Australian Department of Commerce. We have our astronaut attending. We have representatives from Senator Murphy's office attending. And then we have multiple businesses. The Aerospace Manufacturing Association, which I'm familiar with the chair of that. He's coming, as well as multiple aerospace companies, 2 of which had just been highlighted in a recent article that I gave a call and said, hey, you don't know us, I don't know you, but would you come? And they're both coming. So there's a lot of synergy around this, but I thank you for your support. And again, the donations are coming in, which is a good thing. And I think they kind of saw me in action today on the phone with UConn, because I'm not paying. It's not. We don't have to, because we have a good product. Most importantly, our students, which is important to any college or university. So thank you again. And again, I would also like to thank Carrie Latour for all of her assistance in pulling together her whole team around this. It's just incredible to work with such talented people. I'm just one small little cog in the wheel. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Menso. I want to give board members an opportunity if they have any questions or comments to weigh in, but on behalf of the board, I want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the relationship that we have forged with you folks and with Australia. And you're absolutely right, Dr. Menzo is amazing, but you guys are too. And obviously you have found each other, you know, how it occurred, yeah, you guys know, but and the one message that I heard over lunch today, even in talking with some of you, is that it's just this natural relationship that you both sides feel that we're both bringing something to the table, I guess, and that's a really the most powerful thing in a relationship is that not one is top heavy or bottom heavy or whatever, but you feel that there is a relationship. And the opportunities that are available to not only our students but to our faculty are extraordinary. And it wouldn't happen without you folks. So thank you, thank you, thank you for choosing us and wanting to partner with us. And I only see wonderful, amazing things occurring for both Australia and also for us, and lucky students and lucky faculty. And I also want to echo Dr. Menzo's comments. Mark, thank you, your staff. Also, IT, thank you. You guys, you know, nothing happens in a vacuum. Everything is a collaboration, and this embodies it. So I don't know if any board members have any questions or comments that you're good? Everybody's good? Okay, just want to make sure. Did I represent you well? Okay, but thank you and welcome, and we continue, we'll look forward to hearing more and more as it evolves.
One more thing I forgot, they met this afternoon about a student exchange. So students will be coming from Australia. From Strathmore
Nice.
High School, or is it high school? Secondary college, sorry, but high school. They will be coming in April, and Kim Moore, I want to thank Kim also, is helping facilitate that. So that's where their site is on that secondary college. So we're hopeful that their principal will be coming with them as well, and we'll be able to really establish a strong partnership with the students. So we're looking forward to that. And when they do come, of course, we'll bring them to the board meeting.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we love when students come to visit us. Okay, thank you again. Okay, item 6, any questions from the audience? I'd ask you to come up and state your name and address.
Chairwoman, board members, Dr. Menzo, thank you all for your...
Can I just get your address, please?
Absolutely, yeah. My name is Joe Sanders, and I live on 43 Piper Drive up in the Ridges.
Thank you.
Yep. So thank you all for your work and dedication. It was interesting hearing that. This is a side note, wasn't what I was planning to say, but I work little small job at a big company called Hexagon, and one of the things our company does is make sure that the stuff that people build is good quality. It's amazing the amount of effort that goes into things that we shoot into space. I was just down at the U.S. Space Museum in Huntsville, Alabama about a month ago, and to think that the stuff that went up to the moon 50 years ago was built without computers is amazing. And some of the companies that we're down there working with, I mean, some of those are companies that do have some roots in Connecticut. And some of for example, the fuel for the 5 engines on that rocket consume, I believe, 3,000 gallons a second of fuel. And the turbochargers that feed those were built here in Connecticut without computers. And so nowadays they're trying to redo some of those engines for current propulsion systems and finding that we have to figure out how to make all this stuff all over again because the people that made it aren't there. Working with my counterparts in different areas of the world, we hear how they teach STEM in different areas of the world. We were blessed to have an exchange student from Italy come and visit us in September, and to hear from Christina what she liked and about her place and what she liked about here in terms of schools and her 10 days here. And I would just encourage you to say there should absolutely be a sense of urgency about teaching effective STEM. So I applaud you for your efforts on that.
Thank you.
So my reason for coming before you tonight is that to really ask if the BOE would consider whether there should be perhaps some guidelines about policies for school activities on Sunday mornings. So a little bit of background. My daughter's a senior at Sheehan, and she's looked forward to Powder Puff. And we have too. It's a great tradition that we have here. And when the material came home, some of the excitement went out of the room for her. I watched her. She saw that there were 7 consecutive Sundays and 4 Saturdays of practice time. And she came and said, "Mom and Dad, what am I going to do about Sunday mornings?" Sunday mornings for us is a time when we spend some time together as a family. We go worship together at church, and she's one of the musicians there. And so she was thinking, well, how do I fit all this in? How do I go and do all this? And so as we're talking through things with her and trying to help her find the right way to approach it, one of the things that I was thinking is that, with the whole, for example, the E-Play and Unplug, there's a lot that we compete with in town, and a lot of extracurricular things that are great activities that lay outside the school and the ability of the school to influence. But one of the things that we do have some say over is extracurricular activities, and so these kids are being asked to be in school full time. Many of them also have other extracurricular activities they're doing. Now their weekends, the staff that support them, all of that, and I don't know that it really meets the ideal that we're looking for, of trying to have that downtime, that time to rest or recharge. So I'm wondering if perhaps going forward again, for this year we're all set, we're going to solve that, but I wonder if going forward there's some ways to accommodate so that when possible, school activities really happen as much as possible. During the school work, we can let the staff and students and families have that time off. But at least for us, Sunday mornings, my experience as a youth coach and other things is that while parents are certainly understanding of the competition for field space, a Sunday morning practice was nearly as popular as a Mother's Day practice. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you for coming forward. Any other questions or comments for the board? Okay, with that, can I get a motion to go into executive session for E1, discussion of tentative agreement from 2020-2023 with the Wallingford Education Association, WEA?
So moved. Second.
I have a first and second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries, and we're in executive session. Okay, we are back. Can I get a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Have a first and second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries, and we're out of executive session. Can I get a motion to accept consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.12?
So moved. Second.
They're all over you, Mr. Votto. I have a first and second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. We have no items removed from the consent agenda. Item 9, correspondence. Mr. Reynolds.
All right. We'd like to thank, excuse me, the following people or companies for their generous donations. The first is, I believe it's Nair 3M, for the donation of school supplies, the amount of $6,161 to Moses Y. Beach Elementary School, and another donation of $6,161 to Lyman Hall High School. We'd also like to thank Patricia and Joseph Novojoski for a donation in the amount of $1,000 to Cook Hill Elementary School to be used for teacher and student supplies and unpaid lunch breakfast for students. We also have, is it the Movia Robotics? For the donation of $15,950 to the Wallingford School District. Some of the things included will be a robot, annual software license, multiple custom content development and presentations. We have a donation from Anthem, Blue Cross and Blue Shield for a donation of $2,500 to the Aerospace Center for Innovation and Design in Aerospace Experience Tomorrow is located at the Mary G. Fritz Elementary School. We have another donation to the K-Man Corporation for a donation of $5,000 so once again to the Aerospace Center for Innovation and Design located at the Mary G. Fritz Elementary School. And we've also received thank you notes from the Abedi family, the Rizzo family, and the Truck-Hola family.
Thank you so much. And, you know, it just speaks to the importance and the significance of this program at Mary G. Fritz, that we're getting these unbelievable amount of donations, and that's a very powerful thing.
Big thumbs up.
Yes, very powerful thing. So we appreciate all of that. Okay, item 9, correspondence. 10, committee reports. ACES representative, 10.1. Mrs. Levack.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The ACES Governing Board met on October 10, 2019. The minutes of the September 12, 2019 meeting were approved. 2 parents addressed the Governing Board regarding behavioral and discipline concerns and the chain of command at Wintergreen Interdistrict Magnet School. Under the Executive Director's report, Susan Leddick facilitated a discussion regarding the development of strategic planning for the second iteration of the design plan. A document entitled ACES, The Next Generation was shared with Governing Board members. This document outlined design plan goals, the 9 specifications, proposed strategic themes, and the platform structure. Also reviewed and discussed were the Executive Director's draft goals for 2019-2020, which included student achievement and growth of individual students and growth for work, design plan development, fiscal stewardship and sustainability for pricing, and real estate. A copy of the publication entitled ACES Crossing into English, a contrastive analysis guide for TESOL, bilingual reading and K-12 classroom teachers of English learners, was provided to Governing Board members. The Governing Board approved the filing of the fiscal report subject to audit, the human resources report, and the early Head Start updates. Under the curriculum and instruction report, Mr. Rice shared a document that outlined the vision, beliefs, mission statements, and leadership models for Village School, the Wintergreen Interdistrict Magnet School, the Educational Center for the Arts, Whitney High North, the West Haven Collaborative, the Thomas Edison Magnet School, Whitney Academy, CASDD Sales, Mill Academy, and Mill Elementary School. Under new business, a first reading of the following policies took place. Updated Policy 4111.1, Equal Employment Affirmative Action. New Policy 4999, Public Complaints, specifically regarding anonymous letters. And I would ask that our policy committee look into the language in this policy, perhaps for our use as well. And new policy 5999, admissions to the Educational Center for the Arts Magnet School. The next ACES Governing Board meeting is scheduled for November 14th, 2019, and there are 63 Wallingford students attending ACES programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10.2, school to career rep, business think tank, Dr. Menzo.
Yes, our next meeting is this Friday.
Okay, great. So you haven't met yet. Okay, that's fine. PTAC update. You're still on.
Yes, we had our meeting last Tuesday, I believe. Yes, last Tuesday. We had a good turnout as always. We went over some of the strategic plan highlights from last year that we believe are moving forward for next year. We had, we're going to be doing, the Parent Choice Awards have been moved back a week. But we're looking to do a video that the parents are putting together, so we're going to highlight why volunteering is important. And it was just it was a good discussion. Those meetings are really thoughtful discussions. I don't know if anyone, I know Ms. Levack and Mr. Raccio were there too.
I just want to highlight the PTAC meeting that happened the night before system-wide as well. Am I stealing your thunder? Were you headed there?
I was going to put it in administrator, but go for it.
Mrs. Turner had a PPS PTAC meeting last Monday, and it was, again, a phenomenal turnout. It was all different parents, which was awesome, over 25 parents, and it's so great to see a whole handful of dads there, moms, kids. It was just wonderful. CPAC actually co-presented with Amy, and they were extremely complimentary. They did the same presentation in another district, and it didn't turn out as well. So they were very, very pleased. One of the things that we used, actually CPAC I think might have set it up with Amy, is Eventbrite. So Amy could actually get a list and identify how many people were registered to come. And by using that software, it also sends those who registered reminders that this meeting is coming and what the day and time is. So that was very helpful, but it was another great turnout, so thank you.
Great. Okay. Plan of Conservation and Development, Mr. Reynolds?
Nothing new.
Okay, no surprise there. Okay, Food Service Strategic Plan Committee, have you formulated, has that been started, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Our first meeting.
Awesome.
We had our first meeting on October 17th. One of the agenda items was methods and marketing techniques to increase meal participation at all school levels. We had some great ideas. We had a general discussion concerning the use of Twitter and Facebook to reach student audiences as well as other types of technology, both in-house and outside of the district. We had a general discussion concerning the use of special menu items, theme days, and holidays. Ideas were presented to market food for after-school activities that students could pre-order, and the cost could be deducted from their meal accounts. Anthony Loomis introduced the topic of the Student Healthy Cooking Competition, which my understanding is will take place in March, and how the food service operation can be a partner in the event. And we were talking about having the winning student or students have their item featured on a school lunch menu and have it named after them. An idea was also presented of having lunch menu samples at open houses and PTO meetings during the year so parents can see exactly what the students are eating and what's being served to them. An idea was presented to have the transition year, bridge year sessions with the students advancing to the next school level where they can visit the cafe and have lunch to familiarize themselves with procedures and options of the cafeteria and the school lunch. And we also had an idea presented of having food or beverages available for students in the extended summer school program over the summer. I believe it's at Moran School. The second agenda item was to find ways and methods to increase student consumption of fruits and vegetables at the elementary school level. Right now, most of the students are taking it because they have to rather than they want to. We're planning on, or we were discussing of having a colorful array of fruits and vegetables at each school, maybe standardizing what we offer and how we offer it at each individual school so as to make the students want to take the fruits and vegetables. We had a USDA handbook on creative ways to have fun with fruits and vegetables presented. We also talked about the concepts of students tasting different fruits and vegetables and voting on the most popular. And we introduced the concept of what they call the snack attack, where those students who tried the fruits and vegetables would receive some sort of recognition for sampling the fruits and vegetables. And a discussion was raised in partnering with the phys ed teachers to promote healthy eating and benefits of fresh fruits and vegetables. So all in all, very good meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November 21st at 4 p.m. in the central office.
Thank you, Mr. Bondi. Item 10.6, our four-school window replacement project, Mr. Deptula.
Okay, good evening. Unfortunately, there's not too much to report. The project is basically 99% done. I do have one positive note. In reviewing change orders in preparation for a meeting with Town Hall Purchasing, we managed to hold those change orders to 2.3%. So we're probably less than half the standard there. 5.5 is acceptable.
Okay.
And that's what we like to look for.
Yeah.
We can hold those numbers down, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. Item 11, old business. I do not believe we have any. Item 12, instructional committee. You're up, Mrs. Corso.
Thank you, Ms. McKay.
Sure.
Item 12.1 on the instructional committee agenda is to ratify our agreement with the Wallingford Education Association. Ms. Lavelle, can you give us a roll call on that, please? Do we need a motion?
Yeah, we would need a motion.
And
Yeah.
then go to roll call?
Get a second?
Can I have a motion to ratify our agreement with the Wallingford Education Association from 20, thank you, a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Now can we have the roll call? Thank you.
Mrs. Castelli?
Yes.
Ms. Corso?
Yes.
Ms. Levesque?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mrs. Raccio?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Votto?
Yes.
Mrs. McKay?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next on the instructional committee agenda, 12.2, proposed policy on physical activity and student discipline.
So actually 12.2 through 12.4 are all second reads. These were presented for the first read at the October instructional committee.
Yep.
Gosh, it seems longer ago than that, but yeah, a couple of weeks ago at the beginning of the month. I haven't received any additional feedback, so the policy committee will meet again before these will be placed on the consent agenda. So if anyone has any questions or concerns, as you know, you can feel free to either contact Mike Votto, Pat Reynolds, or Kathy Castelli, members of the policy committee, or myself.
Perfect. Yes.
On policy, the sunscreen policy.
Yes.
I-5, if you could just take a look at that. I'm not sure that that's feasible in both elementary schools.
That it should be in the book bag?
Yeah,
Okay.
you might have to come up with another option.
Well, it says other location designated
Right, so
by the
I just
teacher.
want to make sure that the language is going to stand. So
Okay.
if we don't have book bags and backpacks, it might be difficult.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, fine. Operations Committee. You're up.
Thank you, Madam
Again.
Chair. The Operations Committee meeting took place on October 15th, 2019. The meeting minutes for the September 9th, 2019 Special Operations Committee meeting were reviewed and accepted with corrections. The Board of Education financial report for September 2019 and the cafeteria report for September 2019 were reviewed in committee and accepted under the consent agenda this evening. The financial report was discussed, and it was noted that due to increased enrollment and to adhere to class size guidelines established by the Board of Education, 5 teaching positions were reinstated. The projected surplus at this time is $39,046. The consensus of the Operations Committee was to send the September 2019 financial report to the full board for approval. There was a discussion as to the allocation of additional unencumbered funds. It was noted that the playground equipment at Pond Hill School is currently located in a utilities right-of-way for Eversource. Thus, the purchase of new playground equipment in the amount of $87,621 that will be situated in a different location out of the right-of-way was proposed. An energy facilities study in the amount of $125,000 was also proposed. The consensus of the Operations Committee was to send the proposed use of unencumbered funds in the amount of $212,621 for the aforementioned 2 items to the full board for approval. The cafeteria financial report for September 2019 was reviewed. The food services year-to-date comparison sheet for September noted a loss of $1,348. The noted year-to-date loss is $132,673. It was noted that commodities in the amount of $33,207 purchased and delivered in June 2019 after school closed, but not reported in the last fiscal year, account for the increase in the deficit as compared to last year. Also discussed was the unused ROA account funds and the carryover of those funds. The consensus of the Operations Committee was to send the cafeteria financial report for September 2019 to the full board for approval. Under the maintenance facilities update portion of the agenda, Mr. Deptula provided a 2-page handout to committee members entitled Project Summary Construction. This document indicated the projects that are in progress and the projects that have been completed. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 14, new business. I do not believe we have any. Item 15, Dr. Menzo, administration report.
Yes, thank you very much. First, to start off, tomorrow night, as was mentioned earlier a couple of times, tomorrow night there is the College and Career Fair at Toyota Presents the Oakdale Theater. We have outgrown the high schools, and that's amazing. We have over 100 different institutions represented, as well as businesses, as was mentioned earlier, the armed forces. I want to thank Ms. McLaughlin and Miss Graves for their hard work as our college and career specialists. They do a phenomenal job pulling this together, and we have really grown into one of the more robust regional fairs. And so students from throughout Wallingford could attend. If it's open to the public and surrounding communities as well. But we're kind of partial to our students, of course, first. But our students, and talking with students today at Lyman Hall when I was over there are students who are going to be attending. They recognize that it's important. Your child does not have to be in high school to attend. You can come as an 8th grader if you're interested, or a 9th grader. We do encourage, the younger the better, to start getting that information about all these opportunities. So we're very excited about that, and thank you also to Oakdale, because they continue to provide us space at incredible prices. And when I shared the price that we were paying with another person last week, they were like, "What? That's like nothing." And it really is nothing compared to what we would pay elsewhere. Central Office newsletter, we're going to be putting one out. It should be coming out either Wednesday or Thursday of this week, just highlighting certain areas. To be honest, we worked together to put it together in response to some things that we've been hearing in the media that haven't, not that the media hasn't been reporting correctly, because they have. It's just the people that have been saying things haven't necessarily been saying accurate things. So we want to make sure that we're setting the record straight as to what's going on in certain areas as class size, as courses, and things like that, because we know as board members you always put students first. And you as 9 volunteer members of this community have been very, very diligent in your work to make sure that students are at the center of every decision you make. So we just want to make sure, not in any other means than just to make people know, because not as many people are necessarily plugged in as you are to what goes on in our schools, as well as our staff, that we just want to make sure everybody hears the story of what's really going on in our schools clearly. So something that I worked on over the weekend and pulled together. And so again, it's celebrating the many great things that are going on by our teachers, by our administrators, and most importantly, by our students. So that'll go out Wednesday or Thursday to an e-blast, and we'll also send it out to the newspapers too, in the event that they want to cover it. But I do want to clarify and make it clear that the newspapers have done a great job reporting lately. So Lauren and Janice, our new person, we want to say thank you. But we do find that sometimes we do need to clarify. Budget process, as I mentioned, we're underway. We have our first round of meetings with administrators this Friday. So we're in high gear at Central Office. And we'll keep you posted as we move forward with that. Obviously, the budget will be presented in January, but prior to the holiday, most of our work is done. Facility study. I know that there's been a lot of questions about this, having attended a variety of different events over the last few weeks. I think the correct answer is being answered in the way that there is more information that we need, and we knew that all along. So again, I would invite people to go to our website under restructuring study, where it has a list of all the communications that went out over the last year, which in every single communication for several weeks in a row, I explained very clearly that the initial study was just that, an initial study which would require further study before any awarding of any money or any contract to any project was going to be provided. So again, I just really want to, as an educator, continue to educate the community in the best way possible, which is redirecting them back to what was previously provided, and restating the fact that you as a board have done your due diligence and will continue to do your due diligence in your elected roles if that is what the public chooses next Tuesday. But the fact is that we have worked very hard and that we never ever shortchange the process. And I know that that hasn't been necessarily stated, but we want to make sure that people understand that this was the first step in a long journey. We said that none of this was going to take place overnight. So we are still awaiting more complete responses from the state. And once we have those, I'm anticipating that probably our operations meeting in December, we will be able to share that and move forward with some further discussions. But again, I would just encourage people, and that's one of the items, of course, in the newsletter from Central Office, just reminding people of the fact, and I actually include a link to the page that people could go and read for themselves. And I know the staff has been aware because I've received comments from teachers that you kept us very informed throughout the process. And actually, I took the lead from one of a teacher at Sheehan who said, just keep cutting and pasting the same thing you wrote the first time because it's exactly what you need to say every time because you're not deviating.
Bless you.
And bless you. So true. So I just wanted to share that. We also are in the process of developing pipeline programs in 2 other areas. So I just wanted to share, we had our manufacturing pipeline programs last year, which were awesome. And I also want to thank Lauren, of course, for covering those so nicely. And we had 19 of our 23 participants receive jobs. It was $35 a person, and 19 of the 23 received jobs. We're now expanding it to medical careers, and we're also going to expand it in the spring to hospitality. So tying into our CNA program and our medical careers courses that go on to the senior year, as well as our hospitality, which we were fortunate enough to participate in Cook's Table today and enjoy, the amazing program from there. So we're going to be working in those areas, and I want to thank Joe Mera, who is part of Hubcap. He's the chair of the committee, the board of Hubcap. He has put in so much effort with me, but I have to say even more effort than I have over the last month and a half to really pull this together. So I want to thank him because we're going to have a series of meetings immediately following the new year to put these in place. But the next manufacturing cohort is going to start in February and run 6 weeks. So we're looking forward. We have a meeting with workforce development, again, because we're just continuing the many, many years of work we have done in workforce. But we're going to be working with Workforce Alliance on Thursday of this week to not only look at our pipeline program, but also, as I mentioned last year to you, I helped them write the grant for the state of Connecticut to get the money for workforce development in high schools. So we're looking to see where that grant is because they did get awarded it, and we're asking to see where we are in potentially receiving some funds. Also, we had a very successful meeting with Goodwin Community College last week to finalize our plans with that relationship, which we talked about at the end of last year, the partnership that we're in place with them. And they'll be setting up professional development for our teachers because that is key for us to be able to teach the courses. As we want to continue to add courses to the curriculum, we need to have our teachers certified by them to teach courses that then will not cost our students anything. They'll take them as Lyman Hall or Sheehan High School students and not have to pay a community college tuition. So again, our program is a little different than other programs that are happening in other parts of the state where students or the district has to pay for those courses. Our students wouldn't have to pay for those courses. So again, those are just some of the highlights. Last but not least, on Veterans Day, 11/11 at 11, there will be the ceremony at Dag Hammarskjöld Middle School. It's a wonderful ceremony. I've been fortunate enough to attend for the last many, many years, and I would encourage you if you're around. Also, we have events at every single school. You should have received the list from Linda. She is diligent in doing that. We've sent it out to the VFW, all the veterans groups, and we get a wonderful response and representation at those events. So I will be sprinkled. I can't make everyone because a lot of them are at the same time, but I try to sprinkle myself around as much as possible. But they're a wonderful opportunity for our students to truly understand what Veterans Day is all about and to show respect for those who are with them, as well as those who might not be with us that are serving or have served. So thank you for this opportunity to share with you, and I look forward to seeing some of you again tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Manso. And I'll wrap things up with our announcements for our November, I can't believe I'm saying November, meeting schedule. Monday, November 4th is our instructional committee meeting at our Board of Education conference room at 100 South Turnpike Road at 6:30, as is our Tuesday, November 12th, Operations Committee meeting, also at our board conference room at 6:30. And then, of course, our televised meeting here is Monday, November 25th, also at 6:30. I just want to give a final shout out to our friends from Australia for joining us this evening, and I am really looking forward to tomorrow. And if there's nothing else from board members, then this meeting's adjourned. Have a good evening. Thank you.